der zentralen Position. Nur Schwanze an der Vorsicht. Dann ist es Fjørtoft. Er ist im Strafraum. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht.
Hi, and welcome to a Christmas special with myself and Dad in a rather casual atmosphere. I'm at home. You have taken the time off, and here we are making another episode.
Yeah, coming home for Christmas. We've got Markus home, which Christmas is all about. All the kids are home, and we are in Markus' room. It's our guest room, but it's still yours.
My room / production studio.
Production studio today as well, and that's why we have the shirts behind us. But we found that was a great time to make a Christmas special, going from the World Cup into the Boxing Day, going into the Christmas period, and the both of us have had experience playing that period.
Exactly. A lot going on. We have obviously the World Cup that I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on, because you worked pretty intensely with it. But it'll be interesting to discuss, one of them being these World Cup players now coming into these fixtures. You covering the League Cup yesterday, Man United, Burnley, having the likes of an Eriksen, a Fernandes, a Rashford coming back in, whether that is a plus or a minus. And you having played. I have also played, not as long as you did in England, but I guess we can start with, what is your best Boxing Day memory?
Well, in my head, well, first of all, the first Boxing Day I had, or the first Christmas period I had, that was an end of a terrible period of my football career. I usually joke and say I've had tough times, where I didn't score goals, which were the worst 30 minutes of my life. But matter of fact is, when I came to England in '93, that was Premier League season 2, I didn't do well at all. Quite the contrary. I came for a record fee, then £500,000 to Swindon Town, was a newly promoted side into the Premiership, and I was supposed to score the goals. So the first game was against Sheffield United. I got an injury, but I played on because I was desperate to play in the Premier League, but I wasn't well. So I thought, well, as all other strikers, let me be lucky. Let me just get that first goal, and then I will forget my injuries. But the fact was that to make a long story short, being a period of 12, 13 games, I couldn't score a goal. And I was always used to score goals in Austria and Norway when I played there, and also for the national team. And what is happening then is that you lose your confidence. You lose your, you think that you have to change your way, because when you come to a new league, first of all, the first thing you think of, will this league suit me? Point 1. Point 2, am I good enough? And at that time, I came from Austria. I played for Rapid Vienna. I had played in the European Cup. I had done well in the European Cup, so I thought I would be okay. But when you're losing your confidence, it's terrible, because then you start making compromises in the way you want to play.
Start second guessing. Maybe I should do better on this time. So my first Christmas period is quite interesting, because at that day, and I've told the story to you, Markus, before you've heard it. This is before you were born. It's 16 days before you were born. So my wife Marianne is very pregnant. All my parents, my relatives, brother and sisters, the first time ever I'm having a Christmas away from home, because in Austria you don't play there. It's only in England you play it. Yeah.
So I played on the Christmas Eve of 1993. I played Wycombe's reserve team, not in a stadium. As you know, in England, with these long distance university things,
8 playing of those.
It was cold. It was windy. It was so cold that I played with like I having now, my training kit and the shirt over. And I was the worst man on the pitch. I couldn't play worse.
But see, you've always been good with your mentality during your career. Is that one of those where it's just so, you're just as low as you can go? It's impossible to kind of...
You can't go lower.
Yeah, so it's impossible to get yourself up for that game.
Yeah, I couldn't. And I couldn't, because first of all, I am now, when I was also as a player, I hated friendlies. I couldn't get around friendlies. Maybe early in my career, I didn't think of that, because as a young kid, you just want to play football. But as I grew older and I coming into senior team, I understood that we had to play the games. But for me, as a striker, for me as a competitive kind of soul, it was all about scoring goals and it was all about winning football games. So here I am, so away from the first team. John Gorman, my manager, the nicest man on earth. David Hay, the assistant manager, more or less given up on me because I couldn't produce the goods. And I played Wycombe on a Christmas Eve in Norway. We were supposed to have the Christmas Eve going. So I play this game, worst man on the pitch, put myself in the car. I go home, in the home of Christmas Eve in Norway, you know, the smell of the things. My parents, they had brought all the stuff for Christmas home to England, probably smuggling it through the custom of England. And I opened the door. It was warm. All my relatives were there. But I'm like the dramatic storyteller that I like to be.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. So I opened the door and everybody looked at me. I was in my face. I was still cold. I still didn't have a feeling of my face because it was so cold. But I managed them to say, have a look at me now. It's not possible. And I'm on 26 of this time, which is a paradox because we just qualified for the World Cup, by the way. So that I didn't understand it. Why did I play well for Norway? Where did I score goals for Norway? But take that apart. So I opened the door. You were in your mom's stomach. They all looked at me and I said, have a good look at me now. It's not possible ever to come lower in your career, being the worst man on the pitch against Wycombe's reserve team on a Christmas Eve. So that's how my first Christmas.
Do you still stand by that? That's your lowest.
Yeah, that's my lowest. Because sometimes it's easy because you be my lucky charm that when you go born, I start scoring goals, and I was scoring goals for fun the second part of the season, because that was the paradox to the whole season, because I couldn't score the first half of the season, and the second part of the season there was only Mathieu Letizier, the Southampton legend, who scored more than me. So I scored the second part of the season. I scored like 12-13 goals in the Premiership, which was unbelievable. So I usually say I didn't understand why I didn't score. And in the second part of the season, I did not understand why I scored. So that was the start of my Christmas.
Explain flow, though, from a striker's perspective, because I can relate to flow as a center back. But for me, I got flow from this sense of invincibility as a defender. No one could get past me. I would win everything in the air. For a striker, what is that feeling of invincibility like? What does that look like?
I think what we have in common, as you being a center half and I'm being a striker, what we have in common is the confidence and being in flow. Flow is a part of your confidence, because if you're confident, you feel you are in flow, and I know that because we talked a lot about this over your years. The problem is when you lose confidence, you don't feel the flow. When Sir Alex Ferguson said once that a striker, when he doesn't score, he thinks he will never score again. I'm actually, when you go to bed as a striker, as a goal getter, and I could so relate to that. When I went to bed in that period, I was thinking, I will never, ever, I'm 26, I will never, ever score a goal again. So you can imagine, I get nearly tears in my eyes, how you go through and I know this is all about football. This is not about life. This is not about the danger. This is a luxury problem. So, yeah. I do see that. But when I think back on that, can you imagine doing your profession, doing your thing, and you think you'll never score again? And the thing is, there is a lot of places on the pitch. You can compare it with a keeper or a defender who like to have a clean sheet. But as a striker, you are, and some people, especially here in Norway, think that strikers should do all things except for scoring goals. But the main task for a striker is to score goals. For me, in my head, it's all about number of games, number of goals. Yes, I know there's a lot of gray zones. Yes, I played for Norwegian national team. I had a lot of things that I had to do. So imagine how your flow is in your head when you think that you would never score again. And you have to fight these demons, these devils telling you you won't score again. And when you then, at the same time, are so low, lack of confidence. So that is how I go into the Christmas period in 1993. How was your first Christmas then? Because you were used to that through me, but
my next question would be if you liked playing during Christmas. And I don't know, but
I loved it.
I thought it was it was all right, but I guess it's steeped in tradition, English tradition. I do.
You played in Scotland, which is exactly same tradition.
Same setup, and but it's funny to me because I think Christmas is very important, and so obviously we have the Boxing Day. You often have maybe 1st or 2nd of January, so you do lose out on the festive element, you know. And Premier League players who've played for 10, 15 years can attest to how much they have to give, you know, forego. And now it's different in Scotland. At least they're playing 23rd and 31st, so then you get to be included a bit more. I thought it was all right, but at the same time, playing football, having you guys be there, it's all about the experience. So me playing during Christmas, I associate with you guys being there, so it's a good memory for me.
Oh, that's good. But I think that it's a bit of it, Marcus, is that I grew up in another environment than you, because you growing up through Champions League, you growing up through, yes, you're an Arsenal fan, but still you followed Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona. So you had a lot of things. When I grew up, we only had English football. So for us, Christmas was a part of that. That was English football. We had we just had one live game a week if we were lucky, and then the winter season sometimes took it away because we didn't have. I had one channel that was a state channel, so English football was very attached to us. So for me, being a part of that, that was like also a dream come true. Being a part of that Christmas period. So I think it's different, but the interesting thing about Christmas is that you have the feeling that it is a Christmas also at the stadium. If that is in your own head, or is something with the crowd, I don't know. But there is a festivity kind of feeling in the stadium that maybe is in your head or everybody's head, that it's at the stadium.
But I love it as a fan watching. I love it, and waking up on Boxing Day and having games ahead of you, I think is great. And also the vibrancy of the stadium is special. So I don't mind watching it, but it's more so I'd rather watch the game and then maybe a few days after. But I enjoyed it. I remember I had my first goal in Scotland.
Exactly, and Marcus.
So I mean, how can I talk ill of it?
Because I must say, yes, I've had highlights in my career, but for a dad, I have to be personal on that. I mean, my highlight was when you scored that first goal, because we were renting a house, a big house we would have gone to the game, but that was through COVID restrictions, so we couldn't go. We couldn't watch the game, but the game was on TV, or there was on a channel that was air.
No, that was for Morton.
That was Green of Morton. Marcus played for Hamilton, Green of Morton, and Ayr United. So we're sitting in this house, the whole family, big kind of English kind of house, British.
Helensburgh.
Yeah, fantastic house. So we were all sitting around this TV. All the family, your sister, sisters, your mother, and we were all there. We were all there sitting around, and your girlfriend, was she coming? Yeah. She was there as well. Yeah. And we were all sitting there with like glug or glühwein or some
old wine,
and hot chocolate for that game, because it was a cold house, so we have to fire up exactly like you see in films. And then you score that goal, that header. That was an unbelievable experience. That was a brilliant Christmas memory.
That was a good time. I look back upon that, and then now it's nice. But now it's nice being a fan as well. And I think if we go and look into these games now, we don't have the German Bundesliga,
which the Germans are starting. Remember, I mean, that's amazing. We both, I think you were a bit infected by me being a big fan of German football as well. But they started 20th of January.
I know.
The English, they go straight into the League Cup.
So what do you think? Like, what would work best? Because also the popular argument when England haven't performed in tournaments and stuff like that is, they had a long season. And there is something to be said about how short of a summer they have, you know, because it's 3 weeks. They don't have any Christmas on. At least the other leagues have a Christmas break as well. So it doesn't feel as congested. And I think there are too many games for these players. But how do you see, like, in terms of form now? Because the Germans will have and the Spanish league, whatever, they'll have another preseason, while the English Premier League players, they have none. But from a form perspective, I saw Guardiola said, well, Holland, the likes of Holland, Mahrez, and the other players, they will be more out of rhythm than the players coming back. do you think it serves a guy like Holland, without making it too much about him, but as an example, to have the break, or no, going into the next 4 or 5 months?
Well, first of all, I think this argument with the Christmas is an alibi of, I think that if you make the 10-15 biggest challenge for England to win the World Cup, I don't think that will make that list, because there are so many.
But now we had Christmas in the work.
But so Germans, they have had a winter break since 2014 when Mario Götze scored a goal, and they've been crap, if you're allowed to say that, on a Christmas edition. They have been terrible at the World Cup. England did well now. And ish, yeah, they were okay. They played a good game against.
Do you think England should do better? Like this is a part we have an episode we talk about everything. Do you think England should do better?
Yeah, but Marcus, I think that we have to put it in a historic perspective.
Yes,
England won the World Cup in 1966. They had a great team in 1990. Lost on penalties against West Germany, of course. Germany going and win the World Cup. Since then, nothing. Golden generation, nothing. Capello, nothing. Sven-Göran Eriksson, quarterfinal. That was
a lot of quarterfinals.
So then you have Gareth Southgate, who is not your Julius Caesar kind of leader, but he's still a leader that took them to the Euro final. But we can argue that there was no home advantage. Fair enough, but they still went to the final. So I think that we always have to see this in a historic perspective. To your question, are they done good enough? They were in the semi-final, losing against Croatia.
But then the argument will be they have done really well in the historical context, right? But the
last edge.
But there is, part of a tournament team is quality, it's timing, and it's luck. I think timing and luck should have meant that they could have done better, because they met a Croatia, and Croatia are a fantastic team, but England should beat them. They play Italy.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with Christmas. That's nothing to do with Christmas.
No, I'm just asking.
My point is that Gareth Southgate, the reason he is so much in the critic, he is the most successful coach they've had since Sir Alf Ramsey in the 60s, and Sir Bobby Robson, a god. But still, we have to look at the result. Should they have done better? Maybe so. Should they have done better? And is that because of the Christmas? No, I don't think so. There is also a bit of luck. There's also a bit of that winning DNA that you need to have in tournaments. Has he managed to install that into his team? Yeah, well, semi-final, final, quarterfinal.
Yeah. But then it's like the last bit. It's like a leader taking over for a big company. There are certain leaders for certain phases.
Yeah, which is fair, and I'm
just playing the devil's advocate here.
No. I'm not trying to. But Marcus, I'm not trying to defend Gareth Southgate, but I'm just saying that is the fact. But going back to Christmas, will that have something to do with it? I don't think so. But also to your original question, with the players coming back, I did Manchester United Burnley last night. You saw Casemiro had to help out as a centre half. There's a lot of players now coming back in different kind of states. But just take away some myth, by the way. We Europeans should stop being, am I a fan of Infantino? No. Am I a fan of International Federation? Not at all. But they have some good points. Because this European kind of way, we shouldn't play in the winter. Well, last time I checked, there were some people who had summer now in December, which was good for them around the world. That's why it's called the World Cup. It's not called the European Cup. My point is, let's not overdo this kind of thing, how terrible this was to have it in December. Because, yes, we are used to having it in the summer. I'm used to that. I love that. That is a part of our kind of summer time, which is Tour de France. We're funny. That wouldn't be probably practical possible. But I think that the World Cup was good. There was some great performances and some great players always occurring that you didn't know that much. But I think it's all down to the individuals, how they come back. So people, has Erling Braut Haaland now be lying on a sunbed somewhere at South? No, not at all. He's trained very hard. Same with Mahrez, we two of the most famous not playing World Cup players. So I think that Ten Hag yesterday, when he slowly gets his team back, he will ask them, how much can you play? Do you feel up for it? Are you ready to train straight away? And they will be in a kind of deciding that together. So I don't think we should in general saying that the players coming back on a self-confidence, having a great World Cup, they will do well. The ones who will do bad, they will take that into the league. I think that was going to be very, very individual.
How would it be for you then? During your time playing, you experienced enormous success with the national team. Coming back from a national team, say national team success, yes, not winning the World Cup, but beating the likes of England and Netherlands, qualifying, which in of itself was the same thrill as winning a World Cup for Norway at the time. How is it then coming back to club football? Is there like a little hangover involved in that?
But again, I think it was individual, because I was different. Because if I did well, but the paradox that I was doing well that period, I was doing bad for Swindon.
Yeah.
But still, so that kills my argument that I know about to say, because I think that it inspired me, because I played with Norway, I played against Netherlands, I played against Frank Rijkaard, I played against Koeman, I played against the best players of the world. So I was, I want to be a part of this. I want to reach to their level, and that's what you have to do over the World Cup. When we went out to the World Cup in 1994, you were born, you were 6 months. Me and my wife, we got an extra week, go wherever we wanted in the world. We were standing in Florida, and I said, "Why don't should we just go home and calm down and be there?" I didn't even tell Swindon. I was in my back garden. We played with you. We had a great week, and I prepared, because we had then get relegated to the championship. I knew I couldn't stay in the championship for long, so I had to have a great season. So I had to prepare, get inspired, because what I've been a part of, and that was one of the best seasons I had. I think I scored 28 goals. I try to be modest now and say I think, of course, I know that I scored.
You played the entire season in the championship?
No. I went to Middlesbrough then in March. March.
Right.
But so I think that that's will be very individual. I think that Erling Braut Haaland, he will think that he has to be Norwegian is the greatest thing in the world, which we all do think. But coming to a World Cup is not the greatest thing, because I would think, imagine if you're understudy, they're also starring this Argentinian guy called Alvarez, which is a fantastic striker. If it wasn't for Erling Braut Haaland, he would be one of the best signing of this Premier League season. But if you compare with Erling, he's like in the shadow, and he's in the shadow of a Messi in the national team, and Alvarez ending up scoring 4 goals at the World Cup, being a world champion. He's coming back as a world champion. So, but I think that in general, I'm not using Erling, but I'm using anyone. I think in general, when they now get World Cup winners home, that must be unbelievably inspiring to go on and try to win the Premier League, try to win the Champions League, maybe get your country qualified for a World Cup. As you're saying, for a Norwegian, for Martin Ødegaard, for Erling Braut Haaland, their winning the World Cup is to get to the World Cup, which we've been in 1938, 1994, 1998, and then nothing. So so it's sad. So I think that, and that is quite interesting now, because when you get into the Christmas period, there's so many games, so you have to be on it straight away. And I think that's going to be very individual. But for the club owners, the managers, they will be so worried about this period, because if you start by losing, you can end up losing 3. If you're winning, that is 9 points.
See, I'm a bit worried I'm an Arsenal fan, obviously, and I'm worried because momentum is everything in football as well.
And you lost Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. So both individually and collectively, momentum is massive. Arsenal had incredible momentum going into the World Cup break.
Yeah.
What are your general reflections on the second half of the season now? Yes, players losing out on injury, squad depth, players finding flow, the timing of that. What do you think?
Well, first of all, what will happen in the winter break is that 3 or 4 players who were playing well at the World Cup will go somewhere, and so take a Bono, take
Amrabat, who's linked to Liverpool as well.
Amrabat, take the Croatian goalkeeper, take the striker Nesri, take these. Maybe there is, I call that the Karel Podolski. Remember him? The Czechian guy who's played for Manchester United. You don't even remember him. Pobovski. Pobovski was fantastic at the Euros, came to United, a flop. So there's always, we know what's going on now. There's some players who played fantastic in the World Cup. They will now get to a club, because these are surprises and they won't be in the Champions League. So you will think they will get fair enough. So maybe there will be 1 or 2 signings from the World Cup.
Like in a Arshavin to Arsenal.
Yeah, Arshavin, yeah.
Milan Barros to Liverpool.
Even better, better examples, Arshavin. But okay, you're coming out from a World Cup or a Euros, and this one is so concrete because you have the World Cup final or the end of the World Cup, and then 2 weeks later you can play for a new club. So that we will have. But yes, momentum is important, and that's why I try to read clubs between the lines. I worked at Manchester United Burnley as we are speaking now. That was last night. And I was impressed by Manchester United because I think that did Burnley do well? Yeah, they did. Barnes should have scored 1 or 2 goals. But you always had a feeling that Manchester United was in control. Company has done so well by changing the way of playing at Burnley. You expected them maybe... I was nearly saying before the game, I expect them to have more ball possession than Manchester United. Maybe will they dominate this game? United will probably win because they have potential match winners in there. But I think they looked the deal. Yes, it was only Burnley, and no respect, but it was a championship team. Yes, they played at Old Trafford. Casemiro had to play centre half. I don't think that will be a solution if they're going to be top 4 because he's not quick enough.
Or your 2 World Cup finalists as their centre backs. So
exactly, yeah. So which will come back. And Maguire had a good World Cup.
He did,
yeah. So he will do well.
Yeah.
But they looked the deal. I saw what Ten Hag tried to do. That is for me the compliment for a coach. You see what they do. If they lose 2-0, 1-0, you can still see it how a team wants to be.
Right.
But they won good. Rashford looked good. They look concentrative. Bissaka getting that volley cross of his to Eriksen. Eriksen scored a goal, which was important because he had a terrible World Cup together with Denmark. So I think those kind of things you see. And I think that is what is worrying the fans now going into the Christmas period because you are so desperate to have a good start. Yeah. You have so desperate. Manchester United play Nottingham Forest. This is a must-win for them, Old Trafford. And then you have others. Manchester City, 27th. I'm doing that game. 28th. They play Leeds away. Leeds United, fantastic atmosphere. Great. It could be a lit trap for them. Liverpool have said all along they have to restart their season.
What do you think? Do you think they'll be able to clinch top 4 and then restart for next season?
Yes, but I think that this Christmas period is very important for them because kind of Klopp will see this as an extra chance. This is like a Wimbledon when you are 6-2 in the first set, you are 5-2 down in the second, and then it starts raining. And you're back in the good old days, and you have to stop the game till tomorrow. You have to rematch. You can have a rematch, so to say. You have a new start. You can talk to your coach. You can calm down. You're not in that momentum out there that is you're terrible. Your body language is terrible. So Jurgen Klopp will probably be the best one around to kind of see this as an opportunity. He's been there before. See, last season for Dortmund, he was last in the Bundesliga, and he turned their season around. So I think that he can and will do that again. I think that Liverpool still got a great chance to get into the top 4. But I also think Manchester United got a momentum there. And then you start getting close.
Yeah, the likes of Chelsea left.
Then you have to Chelsea. Talking about Chelsea, what will there going on there after that Potter period? I like Potter. I like his entourage. My former goalkeeper at Middlesbrough, Ben Roberts. It was great to see him again doing a fantastic job with the keepers there. But they need to start well as well. And a Potter, that is not a matter of Klopp. A Potter needs a great start because if not, he can lose the fans and he can lose his job. Because there's no way that the American owners, they can talk about their longer perspective. And you know my biggest quote? No, you must have learned it.
Yeah, of course.
Plan long term, win short term. Otto Rehhagel. And they will. So Potter needs to win. They need to be Champions League. And your Arsenal, well, I think the good thing, I think I know how you're nervous, how you're.
I think Arsenal's fans are a bit anxious because it is. Arsenal know the behemoth they're up against in Manchester City. Resources, yes, quality, squad depth. I mean, the fact that Jesus is out, Arsenal don't have any, in terms of from a title contending perspective, not an out-and-out striker that can compete with either. No one can compete with Haaland for that matter, but also then you have an Alvarez as a second string. I think there's an anxiousness there, And also Arsenal have a history of even, I remember the times when, you know, I was completely infatuated with Arsenal, still am, but it's to a different degree, in which Arsenal would be leading the league up until February, March, and then not have the final bottle to see it through. And I think there is still that anxiousness that is still lingering of that happening again.
Yeah, but I know the Arsenal fans, and I'm not an Arsenal fan. I love them when they do well. I'm neutral to the top four because my team, growing up with Leeds United, and now obviously I follow all my former clubs in English football. But there is always this thing that it will break down soon. Something will happen. But I think that Arteta has set up a very good setup. They're very good organized, and I think his leadership is brilliant. But what we learned from the World Cup, Marcus, is that passion is back in trend. This trending is in fashion. Passion, a great number 9, a goal scorer. So Arsenal don't have that one. In all respect to Martin Ødegaard, but he's the top scorer of Arsenal. That must not be a great sign for Arsenal Football Club, although we love it.
Yeah, it's also to do with style. I mean, you lose so much with Jesus as well. Because
but he didn't score many goals.
He didn't score many goals, but he had a fantastic first half of the season nonetheless in terms of how he builds up and his hold-up play.
How can we replace him?
I don't. You have Eddie Nketiah as a second, as the backup, but is that good enough to win the league? I don't think so. Though I would love to see him do well, we have to be honest.
Remember that tall Frenchman you used to have? That guy who could not do a thing.
Chamak.
No, another guy.
Oh, Giroud.
which was not good enough. I love Giroud. Oh, he's fantastic.
He's amazing. So you obviously worked so intensely with the World Cup. Is the biggest point of satisfaction for you to see the not the revival, because football adapts. We've discussed this in terms of when you interviewed Guardiola as well. What makes a good coach? Is it because they are good at adapting, more so than having a set philosophy? But it must feel good for a number 9 to see the revival and appreciation of a traditional number 9, especially someone like Giroud as well, who was just like defenders. They say there's a different breed of defenders now, but I see Giroud, the good old stuff that strikers used to be, good in the air, strong, elbows out, the build-up play. And he's also very good technically, mind you, but even still, I love to see that kind of, I don't say old school because I think he is a modern striker, don't get me wrong, but he has those old school features.
And it's a good quiz, it's a good analysis. I have to
analysis.
It's a good analysis, Marcus, because imagine that's quiz. Giroud has won the World Cup. How many goals did he score? 0.
Yeah,
he did score.
Oh yeah,
I know he scored goals and he lost the final, and he had a terrible final. But he was injured, and they took him off quite early. Yes, the revival is great, but the revivals, I think, started because these are all trends. I can say that as a former striker, I would love them to be around, but that started at the moment Pep Guardiola wanted Harry Kane, because one of the greatest thinkers, one of the great professor of our game, Pep Guardiola, he saw, I need something in my team. I need a Harry Kane type of player. Didn't get him, and then ending up getting Erling Haaland. Yes, he had Abramovich at that time, but that was a misunderstanding from the start. It was not like Guardiola wanted him, or Guardiola or Zlatan wanted Pep. It was like, this is a great player available, we have to take him to Barcelona. So it didn't make a trend for you. But not even that, Marcus, the play with number 9, I will say that it's not possible for a team to don't have a big number 9. One of the greatest moments of this World Cup, one in Argentina, a 2-0 up against the Netherlands, and Van Gaal put on the monster of a person, Weghorst.
You know what I loved about him though is that he came in and he just decided to utilize every aspect of his physique in the game. And he was nasty.
He was everything. Yeah. He provocated everything. He even got Harry Potter to swear. I mean, he get Messi to go upset. Of course, Messi is like every other player. He can be a selfish bastard. Messi can be a guy that wants to. You can't be the best player in the world just being a school pupil, walking around with your rucksack.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Messi got that thing as well, but he hides it. He's a gentleman. He's a fantastic football player.
You can't be that. My favorite thing was when over the pandemic, when people watched The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, and people say, Michael Jordan's a bit of a prick, isn't he? So yeah. Of course he is.
Of course,
not that saying that doesn't mean he's a bad person.
But he's that as well.
Yeah, but he's also when he's the athlete, the competitor.
Yeah,
I don't think Messi is that.
And Messi was standing there, Weghorst having a go during the interview. We had a go at Weghorst. Thank God he did that. I love that. So Weghorst coming on as a number 9, you need that striker on, and you score 2 goals and a good old-fashioned free kick trick from the training ground. Fantastic. So yes, there's a revival of number 9, and if I will end this Christmas kind of thing, I think we've gone through the most now. But the other thing I took from the World Cup is that people they start laughing when I talk about it, because I think there should be a law for bad teams playing out from the back. I think that of all the things that you're training on the football ground, that you get most punished is when a shitty team plays out from the back.
Mm-hmm.
They lose the ball. They are giving chances to the opposition. I see Bundesliga very intensively as I do the Premiership. But in Bundesliga, 3 or 4 goals every round with some kind of team try to play out from the back.
Why do you think they do it? Because
I'm sitting with Uwe Rösler. I'm sitting with Stefan Freund, the 2 Germans that I know best. And I would say to them, tell me in a slow way why you should play out from the back. Because in my opinion, it should only be the great teams playing out from the back. Manchester City can play out from the back.
Hypothetically, let's play a scenario here, though.
Liverpool.
How would they look? How would those criteria look? How would you differentiate between those who should and should not?
Well, first of all, the lawyer who will do this case, the lawyer will, of course, say to me, I could say, Morocco, oh, I love the way they play. Up to the striker, kept the ball.
Yeah.
We jumped after. Second ball, as we're talking about in Norway. After the duel, the second ball, go into there. I love that. What did Morocco do in the semi-final? Stop playing out from the back, and they were a better team than France. They were fantastic. I would put on the luck. I hope that luck. No, a team for me is that. Well, say it another way. I know what I don't want it to be is that you do 69 passes and you win 4 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So you play out from the back. Now the new rule, but you could play on the 5-yard line or 6-yard lines or whatever. So you don't have to go outside the 16-yard box or 18-yard box. Then they start playing at the back as well. Yesterday, Dovrebak, the new Manchester United goalkeeper on loan. So here's Ten Hag. I want to play out from the back. Ooh, let's take this goalkeeper from Newcastle somehow. You have Heaton on the bench. You have De Gea, who's not that great player, playing out from the back. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. He could. There were 2 or 3 times yesterday. United could have conceded a goal because they tried to play it out from the back. What did Pep Guardiola do when he came to Manchester City? First thing he said, he took the English national keeper, Joe Hart. He said to him, "You're a good goalkeeper, but not my goalkeeper. I need another goalkeeper." He had Manuel Neuer, who was better outfield player than a lot of other outfield player. So, tell us about your playing out from the back in Scottish Premiership and then into the Championship. Try how was that?
What is that? Is my answer to you?
Because what did I tell you?
No, but it depends on the style. But I think generally speaking, what I found appealing in people who follow Scottish football might think I'm generalizing here, but
somehow you are, because I think there's a strength.
At least the coaches I played under and the general style, I sometimes felt I was playing in the same age that you were during the 90s, which I like because it fit my physique well. I understand it doesn't fit other players' types well, but it was rather quickly beaten out of me that I used to be a ball playing center back.
You used to be a midfield player till you were 16. Yeah.
But then your priorities change in terms of what is required of a defender. And I will say this much: I developed and learned tremendously from Scotland because it reshifted my focus on what it means to be a defender. And so playing out of the back, and now the level I reached, I'm not saying I played, but at least I played a certain level. But the priorities in terms of what constitutes a defender and what comes secondary was for me pretty clarified, as in your clearances, high and long, your channel balls, the percentage balls, the type of headers you had, I remember, in terms of high and tall, back to where it came from. And then everything else can come secondary in terms of ball playing. But remember, when I was midfield, my priorities were playing out from the back. That is great, but it's not the main responsibility of a centre back.
Well said. And that's why I'm going to end this episode, because we will come back with a New Year special as well.
Yeah.
But I will end this Christmas episode with a rant. This is my Christmas rant.
Okay.
I will looked into there and what I've learned from this World Cup. And I know, yes, I'm old-fashioned. Yeah. Yes, I'm a product of a Norwegian national team who did it that people would call a simple way. They would say the old-fashioned. But we were second in the FIFA ranking, only Brazil ahead of us. We qualified for the World Cup. Yeah. So what I've learned lately is the following thing.
Okay. You want to look into that camera? Okay. Because I think that is better.
This is my Christmas rant. And this is to all coaches out there who are not managers of the best teams in Europe or in the world. First of all, the goalkeeper's main thing is to save the ball with his hands or her hands. They have the best gloves in the world. It shouldn't be possible not to save. The main thing for a goalkeeper is to save the ball, not to play with his feet. Yes, it's good when he can do that if he plays for the best teams in the world. But the main thing for him is to save the ball. To all defenders, yes, it's great to play out from the back. It's great to have one or two tricks up your sleeves. It's great that you can take a nitty-bitty, dissy-missy-lissy pass to the midfielders. But the main task for a defender is to defend. Let's start there. And for all strikers, if you have a number 9, yes, it's great to have him run into the space. It's great as he's working defensively. It's great if he can hold the ball up for you. Fantastic. But the main thing for a striker is to score goals. That is to score goals. If that means he has to run in the spaces, he has to keep the ball up, fine. But the main thing for a striker is to score goals. So that was my Christmas rant.
That was your rant.
That was my rant.
Do you think people will?
They will call me. They will call me very old-fashioned.
Yeah.
But I've seen, and I've seen that in my home country, Norway, as well. They make definitions of number 9s some years ago. They kind of made the Bible look like a tiny brochure, and they just forgot one thing. Of all the things that they put onto the striker, but they forgot to score goals. And I think there are too many coaches out there who are so now up to the goalkeepers playing out from the back. The defender's going to be good with the ball. Back to your championship experience in England, now in Scotland, playing from Ayr United and Greenock Morton, and in the Premiership with Hamilton, you will know that you had to defend. If you didn't defend, they killed you. They killed you.
Yeah, of course. And the other argument will be like, if that's the way to develop as well, ideally, there's a mix.
No, they should develop. Do it in training. Develop and take it step by step.
Yeah, of course.
It's great when you play a back pass. I'm so old that I remember that a keeper could take up a back pass.
But I agree. It should be a matter of priorities that are, in terms of training.
Start there.
Good rant.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year. And we see you in the new year. We'll have a special edition to kind of sum up the year and sum up some of the Christmas games as well.
Maybe some rankings.
We'll make some rankings.
By the end of the year.
End of the year rankings. Best of 2022. Have a great Christmas. And Marcus will now get some shirts on. And I will probably take off my hat at some point as well.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.